Joining me is Rowan Dean, Editor-in-Chief of the Spectator Australia and host of Outsiders every Sunday here on Sky News at 9 a.m. Plus, he's now got his own show on Fridays that is doing very, very well. Rowan, Donald Trump was attacked straight off the bat by people who don't have a better plan. Your response?
Well, my response is, Andrew, today was one of the great days that we will look back in decades to come and go, this was one of the most amazing days in history. I was thrilled. Unlike the other people you spoke to, whoever they were, Andrew, I was absolutely swinging from the chandelier and cracking the bubbly and saying, this is just an amazing day. And the reason being, a couple of things. You pointed out some of the flaws, but those flaws are not insurmountable. For a start, America has done this before. America rebuilt Japan after World War II. It rebuilt, it helped rebuild South Korea. It helped rebuild, obviously, Europe after World War II. So America has skin in the game when it comes to rebuilding successfully places that were hellholes after a devastating situation. So there's that. Secondly, Donald Trump is a real estate developer. Obviously, he saw the opportunity there. And if he can see that opportunity, so too can the other Arab nations and other neighbors in that neck of the woods. They will recognize the value of the real estate and that offers a huge incentive to pour money in. Now, you mentioned the legal situation and the situation of the Palestinians on the ground. Well, the first thing, the legal situation is, let's not forget the history. Gaza was basically left over after the Yom Kippur War. The Israelis didn't particularly want it, but they were left with it because they'd driven the Egyptian army back across the Sinai. They offered it to Egypt. Egypt said, no, thanks, we don't want it. They offered it to Jordan. Jordan said, no, we're not interested. So Israel was kind of left holding the baby, as it were. And as one of the most extraordinarily generous, and I must say at the time, I thought foolish gestures, Israel did what the world had been begging it to do, which was it handed across to the Palestinians land for peace. In other words, here's this beautiful piece of real estate, greenhouses, farms, abundant fertile land right on the ocean here. It's yours. You have it. There's the land. Give us the peace. What did they get in return? They've had years and years of bloodshed, resulting in culminating in the most atrocious, vile, degrading atrocities that the world has seen, really, since the Second World War. The families of Jews who had given jobs to those Palestinians in Gaza as gardeners, plumbers, et cetera, were butchered with the very information that those people had given. So the Palestinians, in my opinion, forfeited any right to Gaza, certainly on October 7th, and if not before that, when they originally voted in Hamas, a terrorist organization, to lead them. Yeah. So the Palestinians have no rights there, no moral rights, whatever legal rights, that will be sorted out. But you don't give someone a nation like that and then they turn around and abuse you and abuse the spirit of what that gift was. So that's out of...
Yeah, I know, but some of them will be feeling an emotional right. So some will be, they'll be feeling they're putting roots there. But this goes back to one of the big frauds, Rowan. For about 75 years, the world, including Australia, has been funding people who say they're Palestinian refugees from Israel. If they're younger than 75, they did not flee Israel. They were born where they are. When is this going to end? I mean, there've been so many huge refugee groups, the Greeks and the Turks about 100 years ago, the Germans from Eastern Europe after World War II, Jews from all around the Middle East that were kicked out. They've had to resettle. This is the one group that the UN specifically protects and feeds the fantasy that they can go back to Israel one day. This would end that false hope. So I don't know. I think there's a lot to this that a lot of people... Go ahead.
You put your finger on it, Andrew, and Donald Trump's withdrawn from the UNHCR and UNRWA just before, and the World Health Organization. So the threat to the United Nations is that Donald Trump will withdraw US funding to the United Nations if they don't play ball. You watch, the United Nations will step into line. They will go along with this deal. They'll kick it up a fuss and all the rest, but they will go along with it. They will sanction it, and you will have your legal standing following that.
It's just so amazing, Rowan, when you think, Trump's only been there a couple of weeks and, 2 or 3 weeks, and bang, you know, it's just the world has been turned on its axis. It's just unbelievable. Now, that's made a lot of leaders in the West look a little weak in comparison, for good or bad. I see a lot of conservatives now here saying, why isn't Peter Dutton as bold as Donald Trump? Now, personally, I think this ignores some important differences between America and Australia, between a president and a parliamentary leader, all that sort of thing. But what do you say? What do you say? Should Peter Dutton be more like a Trump?
100%, Andrew. And we saw the most successful Peter Dutton has ever been was in The Voice, and that's when he was 100% Trump-like. Sure, he took a while to arrive at the decision. That doesn't matter. Once he arrived at the decision, he was firm. He wasn't swayed by the woke mobs. He wasn't swayed by the ABC. He stood firm. He had Jacinta Price behind him, Warren Mundine and others. They fought from a position, a losing position, right the way through to a winning position. That was Peter Dutton being Donald Trump. If he does that, on every single issue, and I've said this many times before, on every single cultural issue, transgenderism, climate change, net zero, he will win in a landslide. The disappointment to me is that he's walked away on net zero and he doesn't appear to want to engage in the transgender issue. I think that is a big mistake. I think you should be taking the leaf out of Donald Trump's playbook. And there are enough people, there's a 60-40 majority on every single cultural issue to the conservative side of politics in this country. If Dutton goes for that, if he mimics Trump, he will win in a landslide. If he doesn't, we will end up with some kind of minority. God knows what we'll end up with.
Well, let me just give you a couple. I think he should go further than he has. I agree with you there. Quite that way, I don't know. For one, Trump is a one-man band. As a president, you're a one-man band. You know, he didn't have to bring colleagues with him. Dutton does. He's inherited a Liberal front bench that is, as you know, has got, or not a front, the whole lot, has got still a lot of wets in there, a lot of people on the left, cultural left, and people who got lazy under the years of Turnbull and Morrison, don't know how to argue on the culture wars. They take their cues from the Fairfax Press or the ex-Fairfax Press and the ABC. They're three-flag liberals. He would have a revolt on some of this. Yes. Then the party's divided. So it can only go so far. And I tell you what, he's done pretty well on what he's done to date.
He certainly has. But again, The Voice was the victory. That was where the people of Australia went, yes, we support this guy.
True.
We are behind him. He's a fighter. He will fight for our values. He will fight against this woke nonsense that we're all fed up with. That's when he won his most successful victory. He needs another victory like that at the next election. The people of Australia need that victory, and they will support a fighter. And I'm sorry, the bedwetters and the others in the Liberal Party who can't see that, they deserve the, what will come their way if they don't get fully behind the anti-woke agenda that is sweeping the West, that will sweep Albanese and the Teals out of power. It just needs politicians to stand up, like Jacinta Price, like Peter Dutton did in The Voice, and argue the case for common sense.
That's a good point. Well, I will have a few pointers for Jacinta Price. You mentioned that most excellent politician, one of the hopes of the side, of the coalition side. I'll have some hints for her later in the show. Rowan Dean, thank you as always for your time.